I am here as your host and producer of this show, Fresh Talks Global Vision. This unique conversation is we're going to start working first with Now Here. So, this is actually a fictional book, but there's some nuggets all the way through. Then we're going to be talking about a few things here and there, like deja vu, talking about how everything is alive. And so there's a couple nuggets we want to talk about also on the concepts of this book, because this book really holds space in reality too. When you read it, it's incredible. You're like, oh, here, wait, I'm like going on a spiritual journey, but you get to take it at the level that you want to. Let me welcome in Mardeen and I'll give a more special introduction. Mardeen Gordon, welcome in.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to talking about everything.
Hey, before we really get started, can we talk a little bit about your artwork here, the
Mhm.
Now Here and when did you do this? Like, when did you create this beautiful yarn artwork that you did?
It's actually embroidery with, standard embroidery floss. And gosh, it was about 10 years ago that I created it. Um, and I used it as the cover of my book because, yeah, it's all connected. There's
Yeah,
a symbolism to it.
and a couple days ago, I was like, Mardeen, like, do you still have that original piece of artwork? And she said, no.
I sold it.
She's got
Yep.
beautiful pictures of it, but the original is already gone because we know this book is real special. So I can't wait for you to hear more about what's going on. Why I invited Mardeen is that we've been talking for about 5 years or more about her being on the show. I used to travel with the show. I thought I was going to go to Santa Cruz, and so I thought, hey, why don't we do a like an in-person kind of a thing? So that didn't happen, but we are finally here, and I'm falling more and more in love with this book and the concept because I've had time to grow, and I bet you have too. Fresh Talks Global Vision group and everybody else that's out there that's coming and streaming live with us. Let me get an introduction for Mardeen, and then let's just kind of really get into it. Okay, so Now Here describes the end of life as we know it and the beginning of a new way of being in which we are able to consciously enter the quantum field. Oh, I love talking about quantum physics, quantum field, quantum leaps. I love this, Mardine. And an intersection of multiple layers of reality where we can see the effect of every thought and action and communicate with each other and with the cosmic consciousness to create a new reality together. I want to maybe we'll start there, but the next question, just so you know, if you flow into it, I want to know, I want you to share about how this book kind of came into concept because you were writing during college time and you had your ups and downs in life that really affected this book also. So the first thing about the Now Here or Nowhere, if I said that right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I started this concept came to me when I was in college. I was a fine arts major, creating sculpture and paintings and visual arts. And I this idea came into my head about the word now nowhere, which is nothingness, nowhere, non-existence. But that word is made up of two words that mean basically the opposite, now and here, which is all about being present, being now, being here, and conscious of your existence. And that idea of nowhere and now and here all at the same time was, it occupied my mind. And I started trying to create visual representations of that concept. And at the same time, I started thinking, how would I represent that with music and with action, with dance, with performance, with words? And characters started to sort of grow in my mind, and, scenes of what NowHere would be like. And I started writing it all down, and, basically by hand in notebooks that I would carry around with me. And I finally realized I was writing a book. And I got a little more serious about it, and, got a laptop and a writing program, and, started to really write a manuscript. And that happened over 35 years. And, I got married, I had a child, I moved, I started a business, all the things that you do in life. And I, all the while I was writing it all down. And it really felt like there was an alternate reality in my mind. And the people in the book are real to me. They have personalities and characters, and they did things that I didn't expect sometimes. And
A true creative experience. What?
yeah,
You just did that? As you
yeah.
write.
So finally, I realized I had reached an end. And, like every piece of art, there has to be a point where you decide, okay, it's done. And that was actually the first time was in 2009. And the self-publishing world was really just starting to sort of come together at that point. So I decided to publish it by myself. Basically, I had tried to find an agent and a publisher that would take it on, but, I didn't get any bites. So I just decided to make it happen. And I printed copies of it and gave a bunch to my friends and family, and, um, and then I got a lot of feedback from some of the people that read it, and also had more scenes happen, and
Mhm.
more characters did things. And I had to write that down. So I edited it, and I added quite a few scenes and changed the beginning, and, really changed it considerably. And then republished it in 2020.
Oh, I love this. I'm
Yeah.
just laughing because it's just so beautiful and the creative space, you just never know what's going to happen when you really open yourself up to it. A question for you. These characters that were created and given as downloads, do you have another book in you? Are these characters still with you and just things keep evolving and so we're coming out with another book or
Oh yeah.
like can you share more about like because we're gonna fall in love with these characters, and you're like, "Oh, here, wait, we need to go some more."
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's several of them that have their own backstory that, yeah, could definitely be another book. And one of the things about the book that's, I think, kind of unique is that there are actually 7 endings to the book. And the reader has a choice to make at a certain point to choose the ending that they want to read. So all of those endings could be a book on their own. And it could be a series, where the endings are evolved into a whole story of its own.
So I see where this is going. We could be talking about this book forever because it's just so conversational because I believe it is because there's things in there that I really feel like I'm living when I'm reading it. I'm like, oh, that seems real, but it's something that kind of bends me or helps me grow because it's like something I'm already connecting with. But now I see a clearer picture, and it feels kind of logical to me. So, do you mind if I go into our first nugget? We can kind of get in the concept, and I'd love for you to expand, feel comfortable in what you want to
Sure.
share about this nugget too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued about deja vus, and I used to think that deja vus were about like I'm thinking about somebody and they call, or I see somebody but they've been really on my mind and those kinds of things. Or here, wait, when I moved to San Diego, I kept seeing these roads and I knew it was San Diego, and I was really confused. I thought that I was actually in a dream state a lot of the times. Like I knew where I was going, but I had this time of like, here, did that really happen? Did I dream about that last night? And I was confused the whole time I lived in San Diego because I had no idea, what this spiritual journey was going to take me. So the area that I really like here, the first nugget that I pulled is everything already exists and our thoughts can connect with either the past or the future, like waves moving in opposite directions. Deja vu happens when a wave of thoughts from the past or the future washes over us. Sometimes the ones that seem the most forgettable turn out to affect things the most. I like that last line, Mardine, and I want you to explore this with us. Is I feel if something is really big, it's really easy to forget because it becomes overwhelming. And I go, whoa. Because I had a little thing happen a couple of years ago, and it was such a big concept that I didn't remember it for like 6 months, 6 months later. And it was like, here, wait. So can we talk more about this deja vu and your vision around deja vu?
Yeah. It touches on one of the core concepts of the book, which is based in science and reality and, quantum physics and all of the, the science of consciousness, that basically everything, all time is now and all space is here. It's all accessible to us, but we can only perceive a very small portion of it at a time. So we have to focus on, as a, the physical beings that we have to focus on right here, right now. But it's all still happening all around us. And what deja vu is sort of the average person's way to touch on that reality that's out there. So, it can be that you see something that's going to happen as like a wave of imagery that comes to you. And it can also be that you're just doing something average, you're driving somewhere and you drive past a scene on the side of the road and it feels like it already happened.
Yeah.
You get that sense like, God, that looks so familiar. Why does that what is that? And it's because you're seeing something that happened in the past or that happened in another reality. And it's like a waking dream. A lot of us have also had precognitive dreams. I have, where, I've seen a person that I've never met. I see them in a dream and then I meet them, in reality a few days
Yeah.
later. Or, I saw my father having a heart attack in a dream and then it happened.
Wow.
So, it can be really intense. It can be really normal, just average daily, things that you recognize as a precognitive dream or a deja vu.
Especially if you're open to it. And so sometimes my vision would get jaded based on, if that's the right word, based on who I was around. So like I would say, oh, they don't believe that, so I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And then I forget the story, and all of a sudden I'm just not really truly being myself. And I think these types of conversations that we go, did that really happen? Those are the most special, like beginning step in to really knowing like the past and the future are really happening here and now. And there's experiences that we can have because it's all happening at the same time. And that really creates coziness for me. And actually, it's really helped me open up my heart even more because I'm like, I don't have time to be angry at somebody. Or if I do get stuck in that, I'm like, let it go. Like I have things to like open up still to. So I find this motivation. And when I was in Italy 2 years ago, the first thing that happened to me, and I think there were many, because when I landed, all I could hear is, "You're home."
Mm.
And it was in Rome, and I just felt so relaxed and I felt so beautiful. And at that time, traveling for all through the night, my body was bloated. I barely fit in my clothes because it's like this that long, travel time. And I put on my clothes when I got into the hotel. I just felt so beautiful. It wasn't like I was challenging myself and saying, "You're bloated, your body," and like going after myself. That was something that really opened me up more. So
Hmm.
as we were going for walks on the street of Rome, I felt like I can see myself having a Slurpee. And then like a block later, there was a Slurpee that was you could see right there in the window. And I was like, what? And it was me going in deeper and like, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy cool. And the other one was in Venice, Italy. And I just kept hearing, go down this road, go down this road. This is something that's going to be very important to you. And this is one of the reasons why you're here. This is your core. And I went down there finally after saying, I don't want to walk down there. It looks too dark, fighting with myself here, my higher self. I walked down there and it became the beginning of me talking about having a humanitarian project and wanting to stop the shaming and blaming, wanting to
Wow.
know what our human experience is. And that meant so much to me. I started crying, but
Hmm.
I didn't know 6 months later that I had that event happen because it was so big that it scared me like, here, that's what I'm here for. And I really feel it now. But
Hmm.
somebody prompted it out of me and I was like, oh yeah, they're reminding me. Mardeen, can you share some stories? Because about this, were you always in this experience that you knew all of this, or was it happening in college where you're becoming more aware of all this? And I want to ask that because we have people that watch our show that can be at so many different levels in their journey of spirituality.
Yeah. It really started in my preteen years. My mom is very open-minded to all sorts of
Oh,
alternate thought and spirituality and that sort of thing. And we did things like we would try to transmit images to each other telepathically.
yeah.
We had cards that had pictures on them, and one of us would look at the picture and try to, get it from the other would try to, get it out of their mind, that kind of thing. We went to a fair where there was a guy taking pictures of auras, and
Oh,
put your hand on the pad, and it would take a picture of your hand with the glowing colors around it, and that kind of
wow.
thing. Yeah. And she was very encouraging of
Yeah.
that kind of exploration. And I just have always my whole life absorbed information from all kinds of sources, and some of them people discount, and there's also science,
Yeah.
philosophy, physics. And
Yeah.
I don't claim to be a physicist. I can't explain the theory of relativity or anything like that.
Well, I guess we won't be going in that today.
Right. But I do have a grasp of
Mhm.
the the meaning of quantum physics,
Yeah.
um, that basically everything in reality, in our physical world, is made up of energy and atoms, and we all share the same elements, the same atomic bonds that create everything from rocks to trees to humans to the planet to dark matter. It's
Yeah.
all the same thing, just
Yeah.
in different forms.
Yeah.
And we our thoughts actually have energy.
Yeah.
And when you focus your thoughts with intention, you can affect matter. You can change the course of events.
I love that you bring that up, Mardeen. Are you with the concept of your book and where we're going? Does this feel great for you? Are you
Mhm.
having fun with this one? Okay, I'm really excited because I always want to know, people that we're talking to, making sure that we're serving the purpose here. Because it'll really feed into when you're reading this book, you get to play with your experience and where you feel that you can grow, or maybe it's all new. That happened to me when I was 21, moving to San Diego.
Hmm.
It was like everything was new about like, here, wait, I'm feeling something different. The I like the telepathy. Is that did I
Yeah.
say it right?
Telepathy. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I use that, and it's new for me, and I really feel it. Is we have a neighbor horse. His name's Whiskey,
Hmm.
and Whiskey, for some reason, I just honed in like Whiskey moved here, so I need to talk to him. Like, there's a reason why we're together, like that kind of thing. It was so
Hmm.
funny. I knew it. I knew it. I like everybody probably is having this experience with this horse because our neighbors bought him, so they're probably loving on him too. But I started sharing with him my heart and different experiences and just giving images to just have the experience with them. So I started doing meditations and telling people, hey, it's dark out, we're under the stars, but Whiskey's right next to us, and Whiskey would make a noise at
Hmm.
that right timing.
Hmm.
And so I knew I was on the right frequency at times, because we can't prompt things like that, but if we're connected, then these things happen. And I've done talking about the birds, I could hear them making noise. So I'm walking up and I'm going, oh, I feel like doing an, meditation under the stars. And I would say something about the birds, and I would hold that space. And right at that moment, the birds would make noise, and then they would be quiet, and the rest of the meditation was quiet. And I was like, there really is something here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful to know that we're not alone.
Right.
And I don't know if you know people like this, and if you ever felt this way, but I always felt like I was alone, and then the ego came inside where it was, oh, I have to do it all by myself. I have to pull my bootstraps up. But what came out of that is I wasn't nice to other people
Hmm.
because I thought that I needed to know more than everybody because nobody could help me because I was raised around you take care of yourself. People, don't let people know what you're thinking, and it would go into all these stories. So this is new for me, and I feel so in love
Hmm.
with life around this. So I love the concept that we're talking about here, the deja vu. Can we talk about another concept, or did you want to add anything before we get into the next one?
Yeah, a couple of things popped into my head while you were talking there. That one of the things that we all can recognize is an indication of mental telepathy, or the ability to read other people's, not so
Yeah.
much thoughts but feelings. Is
Hmm.
that if you're sitting alone in a room and someone walks by outside the door and looks at you, even if you don't turn around, you know that they're there. And the same thing, when you enter a room full of people, you can feel the energy of the room. If there's a lot of conflict going on, you can sense it. If everybody there is loving each other and really supportive, group of people, you can feel that too.
Yeah.
And that is more than just body language. There is
Right.
actually an energy that you can sense. And people who are sensitive and work on developing those
Yeah.
abilities are known as psychics, or telepaths, or they develop abilities to move things with their mind, or that kind of thing. Um, and when you get to that point where people claim to have powers that others don't, that's when it becomes woo woo and unacceptable, and they're shunned. And but we shouldn't discount those people. Their focus is
Yeah.
amazing, that they can
Right.
dedicate that much time and energy to do something that not everybody has the time or focus to do.
I love that you're bringing up the focus. What I'm understanding in my journey and learning more about this, and I want to learn more. I want to keep growing this area. Is that being aware of the energy of the thoughts that I'm thinking can pull somebody closer and just be such a wonderful experience. And when I was not so nice, I mean, it's not like I was like so horrid, but I mean, the where I am now, I feel that I'm not. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy with who I was. I always wondered how come I could talk really bad about somebody, and they weren't in the room,
Hmm.
and then when they would come in, like, but they liked me yesterday. Why don't they like me now?
Hmm.
And I was just playing this game because I was so insecure
Hmm.
that I would I was just raised around this. This is like generational breaking stuff here. Break it, Rhonda, break it, and I find that if you open up your heart, it's one of the safest places to be because you can actually be in the right room. You can hear what's going on based on the energy. And I said hear, but hear, see, feel, all that. So, Mardeen, this stuff is just incredible. So I'm going to go to our last concept here. And
Okay.
again, thank you for playing with us in this, in your book, and the now, here, know, where, but it really is now here.
Yeah,
But the concept and you growing and the characters keep evolving, but I bet your spirituality keeps growing too. I mean, how can it
absolutely.
not?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
We still have so much to learn. It's great.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is why I picked it is I started connecting with my trees. I had an incident where I was going through a big family situation to where I was actually literally throwing up just
Mm.
when I was dealing with it. And then everything would be fine if I threw up. Like I just kind of got rid of the pain, or sometimes I would throw up over and over and over, and I wouldn't stop for a bit.
Mm.
So I kept hearing, of course, not in my ear, go hold a tree.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I've heard this happen before. I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go, I'm going to go. And all of a sudden I just held onto a tree and release.
Mm.
No pain. I was free. I could feel the energy. I could feel the safety. And there was another time, same kind of time span. And I was going to throw up because it kept happening like every single day while I was working through the stuff. And I could not throw up, but I wanted to because the pain was so bad. So I went to a tree, go to a tree, go to a tree, but it was a younger tree. So my question to this tree, but because now I'm starting to get, hip on trees. I'm like, oh, you're a young tree. Am I supposed to be going to? And I said, I'm just go for it, kind of thing. So I held the tree and I probably got rid of stuff, but probably about 6 times.
Mm.
And it was where nobody was at. And I just felt like this whole powerful release. So I want to talk about your nugget around that everything is truly living. So this is all things, everything in the universe has consciousness, has intelligence down to the tiniest photon and all the way to the infinite universe. Because it's all a matter of scale. It's all layers of reality inside each other. We are part of a living being, just as we have cells in our bodies, which are made up of atoms, themselves comprised of neutrons and electrons. And every one of those elements has its own consciousness, its own purpose for existing. We are quite literally one with the universe. Our inability to recognize that fact has allowed us to abuse and exploit this creature we call Earth, and we do not yet know whether we will be here to save her. Please share your concept.
Yeah, that really puts it all in one nugget. But yeah, basically that everything literally has consciousness and it all comes from the same source. Whether you call it God or Allah or Yahweh or the Great Spirit or the universe, it's all the source of life and consciousness. And we separate ourselves from it in order to protect ourselves and to individuate, to create a life that we can learn from and experience as a period of time. And time itself is a human creation. Our perception of first there is this and then there is that and then next will be that and the future is different from the past, that is all the way we perceive it. But what it comes back to is that we come here. This is where I've arrived at as my understanding of the nature of reality. That we come to this human life, this three-dimensional existence, on purpose to learn and to create something, to create, relationships, another human being, if we choose to have children, to create a movement, a group, a community of people that we surround ourselves with, to create art, to create whatever it is we're here to do. And we choose the people that surround us, and we choose the experiences that we have. And then some things happen that we don't have control over.
Mhm.
And it's our response to it that matters. If you look at the world in a negative way, that things are happening to you, and hurt people are there to hurt you or to take something from you, then that is your reality. If, on the other hand, you can look at it that everybody is here to learn and experience together, and some people are so disconnected from that fact that they are able to harm other people. And they think that their purpose is to gain as much money as possible and have much power as possible. That is their story, but it doesn't have to be yours. And you can respond to it with love and empathy and forgiveness. And just that will change the path of the people that you're connected to.
I haven't had an opportunity to have this type of conversation with somebody on video or in this full aspect, because everything you say is flowing through me that I currently live in right now. And not everybody wants to claim what you are saying. It's in books, and there's people that are just writing the same stuff, different books, different authors. It's all so it depends on how you want to step into this. I really appreciate how frank and conversational and relaxed about something that truly is reality. It's however somebody wants to step into it. I find this interview to be very powerful, on point for what we need right now. And as I was sharing, our humanitarian project is, we do a hashtag, so it's easy to kind of do the concept or social media, but speaker locking arms. When we open our voice, we get to change and share and open that experience with other people that are speakers, that are doing interviews, people that are watching our show, that they get to hashtag speaker locking arms, go for a grocery shopping experience, and speak love and experience with people at the level that you feel comfortable. And we want to stop the shaming and blaming. We want people to be able to be who they are. Mardeen, I want you to have the experience right here to share what your earthly experiences like. I always think of this of like the global vision, but we are talking about Mama Earth. So what would you like to share with everybody as a way to end this conversation today?
Well, I think I'd like to take it back around to the book, since that's sort of the focus. It is a fiction. It is basically a science fiction fantasy novel. I like to call it metaphysical fiction because it's set in the present day and in reality. It's not on another planet or on spaceships or anything like that. And you can read it as just a good story, but you will also recognize that there are nuggets of truth in the story. And if you read the acknowledgments at the beginning, that is a list of all of the sources that I gathered information from to put the story together. And, there's a lot of scientists and philosophers and, some pretty prominent people and also just people that I know in my life, um, that influenced my thought and brought me to that point where, I had to put it all down and tell the story.
Yeah. And I put the links too when we started right away for it to flow so people know where to get your Kindle book, where to get the hard copy or the copy, the print. And so we know where to send everybody. And your Facebook group, we also have.
Good.
My friend, thank you for spending time here.
Thank you, Rhonda. Yeah, it's been a wonderful conversation, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, I appreciate you too. I appreciate your book and the experience that I get to be on Earth with you at the same time. So this is incredible. And so what are the steps that we should do? I want to say goodbye, but I just want to know, like a stroke of something. Get in your Facebook group because are you talking about your book and what's going on? Is that the best way to keep up on things and also grab the book? Anything else that we action besides that? Do you have anything as an author that you want anybody to opt in anywhere else? We get that?
I don't have an independent author page, where people can go. It's the main place to find me is on Facebook. NowHere the novel. So if you just search for that, you'll find it. And there, you can post anything you want, a question about it, your impressions about a scene that you've read or anything like that. And I will engage. I will, talk to you.
I know you're a mama. You're a mama of the novel. You're like, oh, thank you for, having excitement around this. And what Mardeen always says is get in there and do a review. So I'm taking that to heart too, Mardeen.
Thank you. Yes.
Get in there, do a review, because good authors and all the stuff we're talking about today, we want to get her out there as big as possible. She's one of the people out there really sharing really positive, good, straightforward. I call it straightforward information.
Yes, I would appreciate any reviews on Amazon. That would be really wonderful to have a lot of positive reviews.
Yeah. Fresh Talks Global Vision, we got to experience a fiction book. And it just feels so scrumptious and learning about your experiences too. And what you're going to discover in here is you have characters to play with, but you also get to have your ideas of where this takes you in your spiritual journey too, because you can read it just like what Mardeen said, just a really good writing book. That writing would happen through college, and then years later, Mardeen said, okay, we're going to get this thing done. So a lot of experiences in her life that she's sharing with her characters. And then also would love to hear any comments or what you're going through with them, having the experience of this and also the conversation. So I love you. # Speak with Locking Arms. Keep out there is really sharing your heart, knowing that everything is going to be exactly what you do. Love you. Thank you, Mardeen.